of human nature, we all hold something dear to us. A sense of belonging to a family, a community, or a country. The notion of nationality is expressed in many ways. Through language, politics, culture, and, of course, food. The combination of all these social elements gives us our identity. Flavours, sights, smells, and tastes remind us of who we are, where we're from, and the streets of our homeland. In modern Europe, despite the union of many countries, there is one region which continues to fight to retain its right of identity. Nestling in the Bay of Biscay in the north of Spain, just over the border from France, San Sebastian is a gourmet heaven in the heart of the Basque country. It's an area that's fiercely proud of its culture and traditions and is known for its spirit of independence. For the everyday man and woman on the streets of San Sebastian, being Basque is not just an identity, it's a badge of honour they wear and protect. So before you immerse yourself in the exquisite cuisine, sit down for a meal, it's important to understand what it means to be Basque. It's a complex reality. So as the Basque flag flies alongside Spain's above the town hall, I'm meeting local politician Javier Ezezabera to try to understand how this semi-autonomous region functions. So what would you say were the key elements of Basque identity?
Well, I would say that, in my view, of course, we are talking about language, not only one language, but even to share French language as a part of our identity, because we are a nation divided by the Pyrenees in two different states. But of course, our proper language is Basque. It is a single family language in the world, so that's an important part of our identity. And afterwards, I would suggest or quote political identity. We think that we have historical rights towards the European Union and towards the Spanish Constitution, and we want to push forward in favor of an agreement with Spain to recognize those rights.
And for people who don't understand how the system works, how much control do you have locally over the daily lives of ordinary people, and how much does Spain control?
Yeah, well, the key element there is, yes, that we have a parliament, we have a government. What Spain controls very, very deeply is, for example, the whole interpretation of the system of human rights. And that's the thing that we should be resolving as soon as possible, because they can ban political parties directly without taking into account our political situation. They can close newspapers, and they've done it twice in the last 10 years.
But just a few blocks away, down one of the city's cobbled streets, there is one age-old Basque tradition that continues today unaffected by daily politics. This is a Sociedad Gastronomica, a men-only eating club where food and socialising are the menu of the day, not politics.
No, for us, politics is politics, but here we shouldn't talk about that. Here everything is relaxed. If people talk about politics, people say, leave it out. We are Basque to our core, but we are cultural Basques, not political Basques.
Juan Mari Alvac is something of a Basque identity in his own right, a world-class chef and businessman who runs a 3-star Michelin restaurant. But here in his local Sociedad Gastronomica, as he cooks for his male friends, he's just another San Sebastian local celebrating his heritage.
For me, it's a normal part of my life. We live here. I like coming to the society. I come and cook for friends. Everything we need is here. I eat here with my friends, and even when I'm celebrating a special occasion, I come here.
Like their traditions, the existence of the Basque people dates back many centuries. Indeed, it's thought they're the direct descendants of early West European civilization. And today, many practices remain untouched, deeply rooted in the Basque identity. The region's homemade cheese, produced from a specific type of sheep's milk, is just as popular as it ever was. And Juan Marie has served up specialities from the Basque region for some very distinguished guests.
We adore all our produce and traditional cooking. When I cooked for the Queen of England, I gave her traditional dishes. For us, traditional cooking is sacred. And for me, the producers, the cheesemakers and fishermen are very important. There's always friendship with the suppliers. I eat once a month with the shepherds. We eat, we sing, we play accordion. We have a magic day. It's very special.
But if you look around what used to be male-only gatherings, you'll notice a stark change. What developed as an escape for men from the female domestic domain has opened its doors. So these old-fashioned men-only eating societies have evolved over the years. Women are not only joining in now, but some of them are building on the secrets, the traditions of Basque cuisine, adding their own modern experimental touch to take it to new heights. For Elena Arvac, Juan Marie's daughter, Basque cooking is in her blood. She's learned the skills of her trade from her father. Elena now manages the Arvac family's 3-star Michelin restaurant.
This restaurant belongs to my family since 1897. When I was a child, I used to come here and to help a little bit in the kitchen. There was my grandmother, my mother, my father, and our aunt. And of course, I am influenced of him because we are father and daughter. But, you know, we are two different persons, and I've got the freedom of adapting as well new techniques and new presentations and new combinations.
New techniques, which are more aptly described as gastronomic experimentation, taking the basics of Basque and adding flavours from around the world.
What we really do is a cooking that is Basque, modern, of avant-garde and personalized. We have a kitchen of investigation, and we call it the bank of ideas.
Give me an idea of something that you're making which has a mixture of that kind of Basque influence but is your real personal take on it.
Bueno, I like a lot, for example, cooking fish, no? Because we are in San Sebastian, and San Sebastian is a place where the fish is very, very important. And I like a hake we have now in the menu that is a hake with white clay.
Oh, white clay as in?
Yes, white clay is a natural clay with no sand. It sounds strange, but at the end, it's very important that the plates are very tasteful.
Cooking is the most important thing for Basques. We adore food. It's very important. Here in San Sebastian, there are 3 Michelin-star restaurants. And in ours, it's the only 3-star place where normal people come to eat. Fishermen, farmers and the like. Because they like to eat. They like to eat with their heads. Not just traditional things, but the evolutionary style of food we do. You can meet a millionaire or an ordinary young guy who's saved up for a month to come and eat there once in the year.
There's a strength of character here you see in the city and the surrounding countryside. Farmers like Andres Irtueta, who for instance pass on time-old skills to a new breed of worker. The famous local Idiazabal cheese, a staple part of the Basque diet, is now a valuable commodity.
Cheese is important here because, like so many other things, it's homemade. We used to grow our own wheat and corn, and of course, because we had our own milk, from that we were able to make cheese. We were self-sufficient, but then, as times changed, we arrived at a point where we had to sell the cheese to make a living so we could have the money to buy other things.
But while cheesemaking is still a viable trade, the profession at the centre of the Basque soul is at serious risk of disappearing. Here in the Basque country, fish is a staple food and forms the basis of many meals. But in Hondarribia harbour, Juan José's fishing trawler remains dormant. The fishing nets are gone, and instead he prepares rods and reels for tourists. As Juan steers out through the headlands, He passes other boats in the traditional Basque fleet. Many can just no longer compete with rising operating costs and restrictive catch quotas.
The reason I've stopped is because things are getting more and more expensive. You just can't make the living you did before. Fish is still selling for the same price as it was 20 years ago, but we have to pay a higher price for everything else like fuel and wages. It is sad. The whole situation is sad because the problem is you are away for so long at sea, and at the end of the day it's not worth the effort.
Fishermen from other parts of Europe are also struggling to earn a living from fishing. Family traditions of a life on the high seas are under threat. The great-grandson of a fisherman, Juan is dismayed that his son will almost certainly not carry on the tradition.
The Basque country wouldn't be the same without fishing. It is an integral part of the Basque culture. It's very important to our identity. We've been fishing here for centuries. Boats went out to the New World. We were fishing in this region before Columbus. So you can appreciate how rooted it is in the Basque identity, and it just wouldn't be the same without it.
And nor will the food. Fish is so integral to the Basque diet, and already what ends up on the plate is being affected.
What you really notice is that the favorite dish here is anchovies. But for the last 3 years, we haven't been able to catch anchovies, so people here have had to get them from the Mediterranean or farther away. It is something years ago that was unimaginable.
The targeting of anchovies is now strictly controlled by a quota system, a system the people of San Sebastian feel puts them at a distinct disadvantage.
Within the last 2 decades, for example, the fishing quotas that we were allowed to fish from the European community are coming down systematically. And we don't have any tools at international level, at European level, well, to play together with the rest of European countries to say we want to get respect for this, what we call historical rights as well, of the fishing Basque fleet. And that is a duty that should be assumed by the Spanish government, but they didn't. They did not assume that role.
It is something that really is in your blood. It is an intense feeling, and for the last 2 years I haven't been able to fish properly. I feel like I'm drying up inside. And until I can get this new business going, it's draining my soul out of me.
Today's Europe, with its bureaucracy and fishing quotas, is challenging the Basque identity and traditions, and this is already having repercussions on the local food. Draws the crowds to San Sebastian. It's a form of eating on the go where you hop from one bar to another, having maybe 1 or 2 small, bite-sized dishes in each one. And the Basques call their street food pinchos. Wow, this is amazing.
I know. Well, this is a pincho bar. I mean, a lot of people think pinchos are the same as tapas, but they're not.
Gabriella Ranelli is a food expert who came to San Sebastian more than 20 years ago. She fell in love with the food, the people, and the Basque way of life.
Pinchos are really little bite-sized things that are sort of kind of like miniature cuisine, and they should be 1 or 2 bites. You should be able to eat them with your hands. And these are pretty traditional pinchos. You have a lot of things with like egg and shrimp. Oftentimes they were the fishermen's wives and sisters who had these bars, and they would put out a bit of tuna.
And I understand there's kind of an honour system, so you don't actually order. You can just sit here and pick at stuff, and then
unless it's a hot pincho, which you have to order, you just take whichever one you want, and at the end you tell them what you've had, you tell them the drinks that you've had, and it is the honour system. Now they're very good at math, and they certainly know what you've had to eat. So if you had 6 pinchos and you tell them you had 1, they know. But the idea is that you just take it and then you tell them, and everybody's very honest here, because a lot of people, this is something locals do as well, and these people want to come back, but the worst thing that can happen to you is to be sort of banned from a great pincho bar.
looks rather empty. What's going on here?
This place is completely different. They do amazing miniature cuisine. So I'm just going to order a few things and let me know what you think. Mark, pedimos uno de carilleras, otra risotto y un margarita. So we always say that pinchos should be 1 or 2 bites, but really these you need a knife and fork for, so there you go.
So what's the difference here? I mean, why are these so special?
Well, these fellas have worked in some of the greatest restaurants in all of Spain. They decided to open their own bar. They wanted to move away from the restaurant scene, and so they're doing really restaurant quality, world-class cuisine here in little tiny plates. And it's kind of like the ultimate fast food.
And still all the kind of Basque ingredients, I guess.
Yeah, carilleras. This one, for example, which is a stewed beef cheek, is cooked for 6 hours at a very, very low temperature, which is very traditional Basque cooking. I mean, the grandmothers used to do it, you know, on their kind of like, they weren't agas, but that kind of stove where they just cook them on the back of the stove for hours and hours over a wood fire.
So the flavors are amazing.
Meld together, and you know, you can't really. I mean, it's hard to even find that in restaurants. It's amazing these guys do it in the tiny kitchen they have.
Here on this plate?
Well, we're here in the heart of the anchovy brotherhood. So we've got anchovies, which, as you know, are pretty scarce around these parts, and it's really one of the most important pinchos in the city of San Sebastian. They do their own anchovies here. They're fresh anchovies, not those kind of salty, hairy things that people think they are.
The owner of the bar was involved with anchovies in some way.
Well, he was the president of the Anchovy Brotherhood, which is a big deal here.
Why is it such a big deal?
Well, you have to be inducted into it.
Oh, really?
Your commission is really to go throughout the world sort of defending and promoting the anchovy.
Oh, blimey. Even on a hot day, San Sebastian has a certain early morning quality. The trees seem as though their leaves were never quite dry. The streets feel as though they'd just been sprinkled. It's always cool and shady on certain streets on the hottest day. A passage from Ernest Hemingway's novel The Sun Also Rises. Hemingway was one of the early fans of San Sebastian. He kept coming back here to stay, drawn by the charms of the city and its people. Today, the Basque region remains a haven for tourists. San Sebastian, with its quaint fishing ports, turquoise Mediterranean waters, overlooked by rolling hills and alluring side streets, is a world-class city. A city which the Basque people are happy to share with visitors. But the struggle for independence from Spain has at times hindered prosperity here. Support for the group known as ETA is still visible on the streets. The pro-separatist organisation has had many of its members jailed for often violent attacks against the Spanish establishment. For many Basques, it's a tactic which they no longer want associated with the region's identity. How much would you say ETA has damaged the Basque cause?
Well, in my view, very clearly, ETA has made the worst damage possible to Basque identity, to Basque nationalism, to our party and to our society. I mean, the real enemy of Basque identity or of Basque independentism is ETA. Of course, we cannot make politics within a structure where there is an organization willing to make politics through violence.
Instead, many here would like to see younger generations inherit political, social and cultural freedoms through peaceful means. The perfect example of this is the Basque language. Repressed under the dictatorship of Francisco Franco, it's now the language of instruction, taught by teachers like Ana Iturregi in many Basque schools.
The Basque language has survived mainly because it was very rooted in the people. They have kept their language alive. Apart from this, the Basque country is quite small, surrounded by hills, so it has been difficult to colonize the area. The Basque people are proud of their language. It's not a language for show. It's not kept in a drawer and taken out from time to time. It's used on a daily basis to communicate ideas and feelings.
To an outsider, though, the language looks odd, often a strange combination of consonants, which resemble a cryptic puzzle rather than spoken words. To outsiders, it looks quite a strange language on the signposts around San Sebastian. What are the basics of the language? How does it work?
We add information to it from meaning. We add things at the front of verbs to change the meanings, to update the language. In terms of the sounds of Basque, yes, some are peculiar. For example, we roll the R sound. But in a way, it is easy to write. The letters reflect the sound, so it is phonetic when you know the letter combinations.
And in Anna's classroom, there's a model pupil, her own daughter, Ainhoa, who's retained the Basque tongue while also learning to speak 4 other languages. Why is it important to speak Basque, do you think?
Because it's the language of our country, and when we were little we study, and I don't know, it's the language of our country.
And do you speak it with your friends? How much do you speak it?
We speak Spanish and Basque. We mix more or less, I don't know how to say. In a sentence we can speak in Spanish and in Basque, the 2 languages mix it.
Mixing what's important to them while adapting with change. And that's the secret of being Basque. Versatility, blending old and new, like the cooking style of Elena Alvac, or the evolving range of dishes in the pincho bars. So if you find yourself on the streets of San Sebastian, you'll certainly get a taste of the Basque identity through their passion for food.